Hey y'all, and welcome back to Unit 9. In today's lesson, we'll be talking about types of businesses. So, we've already discussed how goods and services flow. We've already talked about wants versus needs. We've talked about scarcity, and we've talked about types of economies. We've talked about factors of production, and we've also talked about increasing our productivity. We're now going to talk about types of businesses. So the first one that we're going to start off with is the most common, okay? Now, while it seems like if you're driving around town, you see more Walmarts and TJ Maxx and bigger stores like that, or Lowe's and things like that are nationwide and are corporations, and we'll get into those in just a little bit. But if you made a list of every single business in the United States, about 85% of them, so 85 out of every 100 businesses, would be a sole proprietorship, or they would be entrepreneurship, which means they have one owner. Okay, now that doesn't mean that only one person works there. It just means that you have one person who actually owns the business and one person who takes profits and divides it amongst themselves and their employees. All right, so we've got some advantages and some disadvantages of all of our types of businesses. And as you guessed it, there are 3 instead of 4. Okay, so typically we've been talking about sets of 4 in this unit, but this particular one is just a set of 3. All right, so you get your pride. All right, this is your business. You built it from the ground up. It was your blood, sweat, and tears and effort that built this business into a thing that people enjoy. You get to keep all the profits for yourself. Now, if you are the only employee with the business as well as the owner of the business, 100% of the profits after taxes go to you. Okay, now if you have employees and you are the sole owner of the business, after you pay your taxes and then your employees, then you get to keep all of your profits to yourself. You can make decisions quickly because you don't have to argue with anybody. You don't have to clear your decisions with anybody else. It's just you. It's pretty flexible. If you want to close. If you don't. It's really up to you. Okay, so if you need to leave early, you got a dentist appointment or something, that's fine. You can make your business whatever you want it to be because you don't have anyone else to hold you accountable for what you're doing. Okay, you get tax breaks if you are the owner of a business. So instead of having to pay 22% in federal taxes, maybe you only have to pay 20. I know 2% doesn't sound like it's very much, but if you have a booming business, 2% is a lot of money. It's a lot of profit. All right, here is the negative side of this, or the disadvantages of owning your own business. You are financially responsible for everything, okay? So if somebody comes into your store, let's say, for example, you have, let's go with a pickle company. I like pickles, okay? So let's say you have a pickle company, right? And you have somebody who walks into your store to come get some pickles, and they slip and they fall and break their hip. Now, if you didn't have a caution wet floor sign, those little yellow ones that sit up by themselves, if you did not have that sign out, that person technically can sue you. Okay? So now you've got to pay for that person's medical bills if they went to Vidant or if they went to the emergency room and try to get themselves some help. Okay, that's on you. You're financially responsible for everything. You're also financially responsible for losses as well as gains. So let's say, for example, you decide to make some pickles and you put too much vinegar in them and you make a bad batch of pickles. You cannot sell those pickles to anybody, and so all that money that you were supposed to have made with that batch of pickles is now gone, okay? So you are financially responsible for the highs and the lows. You have unlimited liability. Like we said, you are responsible not only for paying for that person, you're also responsible for medical things like that. Or like you have unlimited liability. So let's say that you have like this big old vat of pickles and it's boiling on the stove, and for some reason you're boiling pickles. I don't know why you do that, but let's say that you did, and then it like burns your restaurant down. You are liable for any damages that happen as a result. Let's say, for example, your shop shares a wall with somebody and it burns down their wall as well. You are liable to pay for their damages. It's just another word for responsible. So you'll have to do that. It's hard to raise funds because you're just by yourself, and it can be tough to find employees who are going to do you right. So some examples here. Winslow's Sup Dogs is owned by one person, and then it's so right. A partnership obviously has 2 or more owners. Now, if you are a partner, let's say we're talking about like a law firm, like if you're talking about the big 2-story one that's across the street from the hospital, Taft, and Hagler, there are 3 partners there, okay? So it doesn't have to just be 2 partners. It can be 2 or more, usually no more than like 8 or 9. All right, so some advantages to that. You can raise more money because the two of you can divide and conquer and be like, hey, we want you to invest in this business, and you can cast a wider net to get people to invest. You get some tax breaks again, and you can bring in special talents. Let's say, for example, in my pickle company, I decide to bring somebody on as my partner, and I am the people person, so I talk to everybody, and they are the person who deals with all of the, like, pickle flavors, okay? Let's say I'm not good at picking out flavors for our pickles, but I can definitely do all like the social media stuff for it, advertising our business and PR and all that, what have you. I'm the person who is the people person, and they're the person who is good at the pickles. Okay, there you go. So you can divide and conquer. You can bring in special talents. Some disadvantages to having a partnership, though: it's difficult to make a decision because what happens if I want to go one direction? I say we need to expand and open a second store, and they're like, nope, I don't want to do that. We'll have more responsibility. So then we're stuck at an impasse. Do we open a store or not? Okay, you have to make sure that you are taking your partner's wishes for your business into account before you decide to make your decision. All right, you also have unlimited liability. All right, so if your business burns down, you are still you're financially responsible for all of that. You're also fully responsible for the finances. So you have to make sure that you're making money. Nobody else is going to step in and do it. The government is not involved in this. There's no board of trustees. There's no like big set of investors. You are fully responsible for your finances. So, for example, some things that started out as partnerships: Ben and Jerry's, obviously, Ben and Jerry. All right. Twitter started out as two friends in college, and Google started out as three people, okay? And look where they are now. So these are examples of partnerships that have grown into other businesses. Let's say, for example, we take the Sweet Couple Bakery in Winterville. It's right beside the Jersey Mike's. It's by Pitt Community College, and across the way from the Jamaican restaurant. So the Sweet Couple Bakery is run by a lady and her husband. So they are partners in the business, as a local example. And then the next one is a corporation. So as we've started, we've gone sole proprietorship to partnership, now to corporation. As we have gone through this, more people have been added to the mix. Okay, so the further we go down this line, the more people are involved in this business. Now, we talked about just now, Ben & Jerry's and Twitter and Google used to just be partnerships, and they were kind of small, but now they're not. They're nationwide, they're worldwide. So a corporation has many owners, okay? I could own part of Ben & Jerry's right now if I wanted to. I'm not going to, but if I wanted to, I could, because you do this cool thing called buy stock in companies. So some advantages of a corporation. Let's say, for example, we're talking about, like, we're going to use Ben & Jerry's as my continual example, okay? It's easy to raise money because I can go online right now and see how much I would be paying for one piece or one stock, one share of Ben & Jerry's, okay? If I buy stock in Ben & Jerry's, God, I got a frog in my throat. If I buy stock in Ben & Jerry's, I don't have to run the business. I don't have to physically sell the ice cream, but when they make money, they give me a part of their profits equal to how many shares I own. So let's say, for example, we chopped Ben & Jerry's up into 100 pieces, right? And I owned 20 of them. Let's say that Ben & Jerry's made $100,000. I own 20 pieces of that, so I get $20,000 of the profit, okay? And if other people own pieces, they get amounts of profit that are equal to how many shares they own as well. It's easy to run. It's easy to raise money, and I don't have to run the business. We have a board of directors or a board of trustees to run the business. I just have to sit back and make some money, okay? Now, let's say that I have my 20 pieces of Ben & Jerry's, and I don't want them anymore. I can sell the stocks back to them, okay? So ownership of this business can be easily transferred from one person to another. You also have limited liability. So if some lady slips and falls in Ben & Jerry's because she's not paying attention and they didn't have a caution wet floor sign out, I don't have to pay her medical bills. I'm not worried about that. The corporation's profits pay that. And they're also responsible for debt of the business. If Ben & Jerry's falls into debt, I don't have to pay it off. I'm just here to collect profits, but I will also lose money if Ben & Jerry's ends up being less profitable. All right, so some disadvantages: it's extremely expensive. It's very complex. The owners have very little say. Let's say, for example, Ben & Jerry's was having like a identity crisis and they needed to rebrand and redo their logo. They are not going to ask me, who has 20 little baby shares of Ben & Jerry's, hey, are you okay with us redoing our logo? They don't care. Another example of this would be Walmart. When Walmart went from blue and gray superstores to the brown ones, they did not call everybody who owned a piece of Walmart and was like, hey, are you cool if we paint everything brown? That's not how that works, okay? There's more government regulation because they have to make sure that when there are multiple owners, that everything is being traded fairly. You get double tax as well. So the corporation pays taxes on the profit, and then I pay taxes on my earnings owning a little piece of it. So like Amazon or Facebook or Apple or ExxonMobil. So currently I think Amazon is worth, prior to the pandemic, is worth almost $1,800 a share. So a share is one little tiny piece of your business. And if you own one little piece of the business, that's how much you have to pay to own it. And if you sell it, that's how much money you're going to get. Let me look it up real fast and see. Amazon share price. Good night. Okay, so currently the Amazon share price, I don't know if you can see this corner over here, $2,400, because everybody and their mom has turned into a Karen and is like, I'm just going to buy it on Amazon right now. Okay, so, and you just saw that it moved a little bit. Okay, so the price of stock in Amazon has gone up to 400 bucks, a little more than that, probably more than that. Mental math is not my thing. Y'all know this. All right, so it has gone up a whole bunch. So this is literally today, right now, April the 30th at 2:30 p.m. Okay, so there is that. All right, so one piece of Amazon is worth a whole lot of money. So if you buy Amazon, it's going to cost you $2,400 to buy one piece of Amazon. Okay, and then when you sell it, let's say you turn around and sell it tomorrow, and now Amazon's worth $2,500. You only made $100 profit. Okay, but if you buy stock in companies and leave it alone, eventually it'll grow. All right, so how do you get from a teeny little company to a corporation? How does Samuel Walton, the guy who is the owner of Walmart, how does he go from one little tiny store on the corner in Arkansas to being the largest retailer in the United States? Okay, well, first and foremost, if you have enough locations of whatever it is, you receive what's called a charter from the government. Okay, so you have to go to Raleigh or to an office to receive a charter from the government, which is basically a piece of paper that says I am a real, actual, live business, so that they can regulate people spending their money so that they're not having like a fraudulent business. So they receive permission from the government to be a thing. All right. Then they get some stockholders to invest money and become shareholders. All right. So let's say, for example, I'm like, yes, I want to buy a stock in this Walmart nonsense. And so I invest $500,000. I give them $500,000 of my money. Then they take my $500,000, build more stores, get more inventory, that type of thing. And I leave my $500,000 to grow. And I say, I want 100 shares of Walmart. And they say, okay. So I get 100 pieces of Walmart. All right. And then when Walmart makes money, every single one of my pieces brings me back money as well. Okay. And then the third thing, the stockholders, once they're a thing, and once they've got money invested, they elect a board of directors to run the business. I'm not worried about whether or not Susan is late for work at Walmart if I'm a stockholder. I'm worried about whether or not Walmart overall is making money. Okay. There's a board of directors to run the business. I just profit or lose. Okay. So this homie on the left is James Cash Penney, otherwise known as J.C. Penney. This guy, I can't remember what his last name is, but he bought McDonald's. His last name is not McDonald, okay? It was already a thing, and he bought it and made it into the giant thing it is today. And then here's Samuel Walton, one of the richest men in the world, who owns Walmart and Sam's Club. So let's look at some frequently asked questions. Which type of business is the oldest and the most common? That would be a sole proprietorship, so just one owner. And in a sole proprietorship, what's going to happen if the owner dies? Well, it depends on if they had a will or not. If they do have a will, it goes to their kids or whoever they give it to. And if not, it goes to the bank. All right. Even though sole proprietorships make up 85%, sorry, I lied earlier, make 90% of all businesses, corporations glean or get 85% of the profits. And in the last one, in an effort to make sure that we are protecting American businesses, why should we buy from Americans? Because we're keeping the money here in the U.S. And that has been Types of Businesses.